Hey y'all. So at our house, we have really unusual dinner conversations. I see commercial real estate deals all day. My husband, being an estate planning attorney, he sees estate plans all day. And what we keep noticing and what almost nobody else is talking about in the industry is that commercial real estate is one of the most underrated estate planning tools available out there. Today, I'm going to walk y'all through why these two worlds belong together and the specific structures that can turn one commercial property into a multi-generational wealth tool. But real quick, before I get started, as the daughter and wife of attorneys, I promised them that I would give you guys this disclaimer. So I am not an attorney. My husband is, but he is also not your attorney. And so everything we talk about today is for general education. For your specific situation, you need actual legal counsel. Get it, got it, good. Let's move on. So for anybody new here, I'm Lexi Sims, commercial real estate advisor, born and raised in Houston, Texas. And I'm also an industrial engineer by degree. But my whole focus is helping business owners stop renting and start owning their commercial space. But the bigger picture that I keep coming back to, and the part that most of the content you see out there skips, is what happens to the building after you stop running it. What happens when you retire, when you sell the business, and when you inevitably die. And I know we don't love thinking about that or talking about it, but the people who avoid this conversation are the ones whose families end up paying for it in the long run. So here's my philosophy. If you're going to spend the time and the money to buy commercial real estate, then you should know how to use it as part of your estate plan from the very beginning, not after the fact. Let's get into it. So let me show y'all why commercial real estate is so well suited for estate planning. There are actually 4 reasons. So reason number 1, it's an asset that generates income. And when you transfer wealth to your spouse, your kids, your business partners, most assets are either passive, like a savings or stocks, or operating, like the business itself. And commercial real estate sits somewhere in between. It generates income without requiring the next owner to keep running a business. So your spouse who doesn't want to take over your contracting company can still receive monthly rent from the building. Reason number 2 is that it appreciates. So most estate plans are designed around assets that you hold or grow in value, right? But commercial property appreciates over time. So an estate that includes a building that you bought for $1 million and owned for 25 years is now worth substantially more, and you've transferred that appreciation through your real estate strategy, not through a tax return. Reason number 3 is that it comes with depreciation, and this one matters a lot for taxes. So commercial real estate gives you depreciation deductions over 39 years on the building. That reduces your taxable income while you still own it. And your tax professional can walk you through the specifics, but for high-earning business owners, this matters a lot. So reason number 4 is that it has flexible ownership structures. So a building owned in an LLC, owned by a trust with specific terms about who controls it and who benefits, that's a fundamentally different situation than a building you own personally. The ownership structure determines so much. You got tax treatment, estate tax exposure, and who can be sued for what, and how it transfers when something happens. Let's keep going. So let me show y'all the 3 most common structures and then the conversation I have with you and your attorney if we were planning this thing out. So structure 1 is the LLC. And so most commercial real estate that I help clients buy goes into an LLC, either a single member or a multi-member, depending on the situation. But the LLC protects you personally if there's a lawsuit. So if someone slips on the property, a tenant sues or whatever, and it separates the building from your business. Structure 2 is the LLC owned by a trust. And this is where it gets really interesting for estate planning. So the LLC owns the building. A revocable living trust, or in some cases, an irrevocable trust, owns the LLC. So when you pass, the trust controls the LLC owns the building, and everything transfers without going through probate. And so your family isn't tied up in court proceedings for an entire year. This is what my husband talks about constantly. Apparently, probate is like the boogeyman of his job, but it happens all the time because people don't have a proper plan in place to avoid it. So structure 3 is the family limited partnership. And for business owners with significant wealth or multiple commercial properties, an FLP or a family limited partnership can be a really powerful tool to transfer ownership to the next generation while you're actually still alive. There are discounts and tax benefits available, so talk to your attorney about whether this one fits your situation. And real quick, before we move on, none of these structures are right for everybody. The right structure depends on your net worth, your family situation, your state, your tax position. So don't pick a structure from a YouTube video. Y'all, please bring this to an actual estate planning attorney and then decide from there what's going to work best for you. Now, check this next part out. This is one of those things that almost nobody understands until they need it. When you pass and your spouse or kids inherits the property, there's something called a step up in basis. Without getting too deep into the tax weeds, here's what that means. The building gets revalued to fair market value as of the date of death. So all the appreciation that happened while you owned it, your heirs don't pay capital gains tax on that. Let me show you with numbers. So say you buy a building today for $1 million. You hold it for 25 years and then you pass away in 2050. By then, the building is now worth $3 million. So without the step up in basis, if your kids sold that building, they would owe capital gains tax on $2 million of appreciation. With the step up in basis, their new cost basis becomes $3 million, the date of death value. So if they sold immediately at $3 million, they would owe zero capital gains. And that right there is one of the most powerful wealth transfer mechanisms in the entire U.S. tax code, and is specifically generous to real estate. My husband says this is one of the parts of his job that actually makes him hopeful, but we'll take it for what it's worth. So 2 mistakes I see business owners make in this area time and time again. Mistake number 1 is that they wait too long to set up the right ownership structure. Once you've bought the property in your personal name, transferring it to an LLC later can trigger taxes and lender issues. Set up the LLC before closing. Your closing attorney, the title company, your estate planning attorney should both be in on that conversation from the very beginning. Mistake number 2 is that they don't update the structure as their wealth continues to grow. So what worked when you bought a $500,000 property and had a $1 million net worth doesn't necessarily work when you own 3 buildings worth $5 million and have a $10 million net worth. Estate plans need to be reviewed every 3 to 5 years, especially after major life events like the birth of a child, a divorce, the sale of a business, or even a new marriage. Most business owners set up an estate plan once and never touch it again. And that's the equivalent of writing a 20-year business plan and never reading it. The plan only works if it grows with you. So here's what I want y'all to take from this video. Commercial real estate isn't just about cash flow and appreciation. It's also one of the most flexible, tax-advantaged, family-friendly wealth transfer tools in the entire investment universe when you set it up correctly. And the people who set it up correctly have one thing in common. They have a commercial real estate advisor and an estate planning attorney working together, not separately, but together. If you're a business owner thinking about commercial real estate and you don't have an estate planning attorney, now is the time to get one. I can recommend one or talk to some other folks and see if they have one as well. If you have a building already and you've never reviewed it with your attorney, that's the call that you need to be making this week. And if you want to talk to me about your commercial real estate situation, the link to book a 15-minute call is in the description. There's no pressure, just clarity on what your options are and what could work best for you. Next week, we're going to tackle one of the biggest questions I get from business owners, and that's on commercial real estate versus residential real estate. Which one is better, when is better, and for who? And what about the hybrid path between kind of doing a situation with both? So we're going to go there. Subscribe and hit the bell. My name is Lexi Sims. I'm a Houston commercial real estate advisor, helping you to stop renting and start owning. I'll see you in the next video.